Hi, everyone. It's Kristin Sullivan with Just As Planned Wedding Podcast. And today I have joining me Josh Frey from High Tone Entertainment, straight from the Music City in Nashville, Tennessee. Hey, Josh, how are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks so much for being here with me today. I'm in honor of you. I busted out my disco ball, which, we're event planners. We have everything, but it's not often I bring it into the house.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate it. It adds a great flair. Thank you.
Thanks. So we're here just to share information that will help brides and grooms planning all over the world, whether they're coming to Nashville or Florida or London. We welcome all of you here. So thanks so much for being here. A lot of what we share about wedding help is universal for the most part. So Josh is like the leader of entertainment in wedding industry in Nashville here. And he's going to share with us. Josh, tell me, how long have you been a DJ? How long have you been in entertainment?
The company, we turned 10 years old in June of 2021. So I was a professional musician before I started the company. And actually, my personal wedding was a springboard for the company. And so June of 2011, it started, and we just celebrated 10 years.
Oh, congratulations. That's awesome. I
Mhm.
hope that your springboard was because everything went right and you loved it so much, or was it the opposite?
It was a whirlwind of both, but it was all great. At the end of it, it was amazing. Yeah.
That's so great because my story is that I became a planner because my wedding did not go so great. And I vowed to never let that happen to another destination client. So I'm glad to hear that wasn't your experience.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. That's
Awesome. So if you had kind of your top three things that you share with clients or want to share with anyone about their entertainment and how to prep for their wedding, it's such an important part. It obviously we all know it makes or breaks kind of an event.
hmm from the entertainment side of things.
Yes, from
Um,
your perspective, what would you tell people is the top three?
yeah. Well, I guess really to start off with is decide whether you're like what is your entertainment going to be? Is it going to be band, DJ, or whatnot? Um, and do your research and look into someone or a band or a DJ that's going to really kind of fit your needs. Um, and don't and then don't settle, because this is your special day, so you really want to really the entertainment can make or break the wedding. It really, really can. um, so I would say just put it as important as the photographer, and really do your due diligence to also do your research with that. Now, as far as how it goes from preparations and things like that, what's going to make an ultimate difference. Well, first of all, I want to say a few things that I did write down on tips for brides on their wedding day, grooms on their wedding day, is there's so much happening. And this is a little deviates a little bit off of just entertainment, but I always like to throw this out there. But they need to make sure they just enjoy the moments, like enjoy that time. There's so much that happens, and it happens so fast. Just make sure that you pause for as much as you can here and there. Enjoy it. Enjoy those people. Really take that in, because at the end of the night, when I get hugs and we're talking and stuff, they're like, we wanted to stay longer. Everything went by so fast. Like, so that's just one thing I want to, throw in with that. Um, Something that's also going to make a difference, and not just from like an entertainment standpoint, but to really go with the flow, because nothing is perfect. I know we all want that perfect day, and it's just if little things happen when you get 100 and 150 and 200 people all coming to the same place. There are things that just kind of happen here and there. Just go with the flow on it. All right. But I know I'm kind of going through many points here, but preparation before the wedding. Now, what I feel is really important from a DJ perspective is I want to make sure that we review the details and the important specifics of music and things before the wedding. Now, I'm talking about everything from, your introductions, how you would like to be introduced, to what song are you coming into, how do we pronounce this person's name in the bridal party. Tell me about, this little note here that you have that's important to you on this little this thing you're doing. I think that's all very, very important, but to not just do it via email. Like, part of our policy is before every single wedding, we have a 10 to 15 minute review call with every client, and we take the coordinator's timeline and we literally go down the list. We make sure that timing is correct, that the time slots and everything are correct, that the music is correct. And then we ask little details on our part, as far as, hey, your first dance song is 4 minutes long. All right, we may need to cut that at the 2.5 minute mark. All right. And then further on that note, you may have somebody that says, we just want, look, we're not dancers. We want to get out of there as soon as we can. So 45 seconds and you dial it down. And then I may kind of negotiate with them a little bit, because you want to make sure the photographer has enough time to get those important shots and those different angles and things that they need. All in all, from our perspective, as far as, the preparations is really what I'm honing in on here, because it's like the things like, well, it's not a problem until it's too late, or mispronouncing somebody's name or something. It's not an issue until you do it. And so it's a peace of mind for the client. It's a peace of mind for us, knowing that we're getting things right. But I feel that those preparation beforehand, and then just double checking all the details, make a big difference in the go and the flow, and just like everybody being on the same page on the wedding. Okay.
So true. So true.
That was like 8 different bullet points. I mean, I know I kind of around, but it's just kind of what I was thinking there. So
No, it's perfect. It's perfect. We love it because, it starts flowing, and then it starts coming out, and it's all great information. I know you and I, just a side note, had a little wedding together, and we had a weather challenge, a very last minute weather challenge, which is probably the one thing we cannot control, which is really frustrating as a planner to not be able to control everything. But Josh, you were amazing. Like, literally picked up and moved inside in like 5 minutes, I think it was. It was all quite a blur to me, but that's just something else that's so important for people to understand, that, we're all a team working together, and there are things that are going to happen. We don't want you to have to worry about them. We don't want you to have to stress out about them. That's why we always have such a great team in place. And so pick your people right, like exactly what you said. Do your research, make sure that you're working with professionals, make sure that your DJ or your entertainment knows the venue, right? Like, you probably, I'm sure, do your research on your venue as well before you even show up there. But what if there isn't power where you're going, things like that. So I think it's just important to let brides and grooms know that are watching, that we are doing all of those details behind the scenes for you. It's not just showing up and having a party, which everyone thinks, yes, we love our jobs, but there's a lot that goes into them.
Yeah, and that's where we come in. People will downplay if they're like, we just want music. We'll get our friend to do the iPod or something like that. And I always tell them, like, it's not going to go like you think it's going to go. If that's the wedding that you want, then fine. But there's so much that goes into it, pre-planning and then execution, and then just knowing from experience how to handle situations.
Right.
So I have to have heart to hearts all the time.
Oh, no. And I actually have a policy. I won't work with clients that want family friends to do things, because I don't want to ruin friendships or family situations. And I've seen it happen, unfortunately. Everybody wants to participate and help, and that's great, except for they also want to be a guest and have fun and party. And, usually there's alcohol involved at a wedding. And so that just can quickly become a nightmare.
Yes, and you want them, they're just as much as part of the experience, because one thing that I've noticed is like, and sometimes I speak from personal experience just from my wedding, is like, I just didn't know how much I appreciated like so many people, because they are all there. It's like, 120 people, and just families and people I knew from so long ago and new friends, and they all came. And it was the most important thing to us. Is like we had a great time, but the fact that we just had those people just meant the absolute world to us. And to your point, if you I couldn't imagine asking somebody to, if it's a little thing, hey, a little favor here and there, that's fine. But I've had, brides say, because I always, at the end of every single new client call, I ask them, what vendors can I help you find? Because professional vendors, like you mentioned, experienced vendors make or break, the wedding, the whole thing, the whole experience. But if they do not have a planner or a coordinator, I said, well, what do you plan to do? And I'm going to ask my bridesmaid to do it. No, you don't need to do that, because they need to be in there with you, with pictures and having fun. They don't need to be making sure that the linens are correct on this table, and that 8-inch rounds need to be on this side, and then same thing with like a mom. I've had to speak to mothers that have been like, they want to control it, and I'm like, I love you. I'm sorry, but it's not going to be as great of a situation with you involved with this, and you are going to miss things that are happening behind scenes, and you're not going to enjoy it. And then the bride wants her mom there, and that friend, that's why it's so important to have a planner, a coordinator that's going to make sure that everybody's doing what they're supposed to doing. That's problem solving. That's just making sure that things are going to go how they're supposed to go. And then so that, the bride, they can just, they're out there having their fun. That's great. And that's what you want.
So true. Thank you for saying that. It's true. And I always try to tell everyone, if a full planner is not for you, or perhaps it's not in your budget, at least do yourself the favor of getting yourself a day of, because
right.
you will blink and it's over. And
Mm-hmm.
the last thing you want to be doing is running around, worrying about linens, flowers, anything. You don't want to worry about anything. You want to show up, have your hair and makeup done, look amazing, feel amazing, dance, eat, and remember every second of it. And if you're worried about running around places, you're not going to do that. So it's so.
Yeah. And I tell brides, I'm like, on that day, you just need to enjoy yourself, look pretty, and take instructions. Meaning that you've hired somebody, coordinator, planner, that's got it in check, timeline, and you have a photographer that knows what they need to be doing and what shots they need to get. And then all of a sudden, the bride is just taking instructions. The groom is taking instructions. Hey, we're moving on to this right now. We need to get this done. We're doing this shot. We have dad over here. This needs to happen, and that's really, the majority of the time, that's what's up. You take instructions and enjoy yourself and enjoy them, so.
And it's true. And we're all behind the scenes saying, okay, this is the song you're getting ready to cue up, and this is where the photographer is going to be standing. And so it is just a lot of moving parts. And the last thing you want to do is be the one having to coordinate that and looking or feeling stressed out. So
Yeah, very true.
About how to create and complete dance floor playlist. Like, I always love this, because it's never better to look out on a dance floor, full dance floor, and see the bride and groom surrounded by family and friends and dancing and having fun. And that could be a challenge, because, as we know, weddings obviously have different age groups, from 10 to 100 sometimes. How does
Yeah. So yeah, most definitely. I don't know. I mean, a lot of different DJs, approach it. DJs approach it differently. I can only tell you just how I go about it. And I kind of go about my own wedding, because I was all into music, and I was like, bro, I'm going to make this real simple for you. These are my jams. And look, if you can just at least get to like 60%, like, we're good. I mean, we were very simplistic, but I just knew I wanted to hear these tunes. And not that everybody is like me, but here's my point, is that whenever I speak to clients and couples, I always tell them, like, you can have as much input on the music as you would like, because everybody's different. I've had people say, Josh, we're board game people. I'll never forget this. We're board game people. We just want to have a nice dinner, and we want to dance if we can. If we're not sure if people are, going to dance. And I remember it was at the Kimpton Erickson Hotel downtown, and like I got input. They gave me like 5 or 6 songs. It's nothing. And then it was like a packed dance floor all night. I remember taking boomerangs and being like board game people. I mean, I just thought it was a trip. But then you have others that want to contribute a lot. It's really, really important to them, and that's wonderful too. That helps me. See, it's not. I don't look at it like you're trying to tell me what to do. I'm like, look, I'm going to take this. I'm going to mix all of that to where it just like these people can't even handle it. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of how I look at it. Because ultimately this is about them, and you want to tailor the whole experience, the reception and the music based upon their preferences, like what works well with with them personally. And so I always love to get that from people. I love to get songs and music and stuff from people. Now I always tell them I'm going to throw in what I know works with what you've given me. Okay, so you can give me 100 songs. I can't, but if I'm not going to sit there and go through the list and play I can't do that. I've got to put certain songs at certain points, and I'm going to throw in what I know works with that. We're always on agreement. It's always great. It's always fine. But I think that to keep a full dance floor, I think that is a very, very big and important component, because you are adding value to your clients specifically by tailoring that song list to them. Okay. Yeah. I think that's a customer service thing also. I think that's getting from there. Now, as far as like keeping it going, when we open up the dance floor, my thought process is how to get like any and all ages on the dance floor first, to break the ice, to warm everybody up. Okay, so if it's let's just say that we start with something upbeat, we're gonna bring everybody out. I try to possibly do something a little bit old school, so that it appeals to older, because younger people are usually ready to go, but it's like maybe an older crowd. You know what I mean? That like if you threw on Cardi B first, they're not going to go out. It's well, hold up, they don't know what that is. But you try to involve everybody as much as possible. Okay, right there in the beginning, and then keep that flowing. That's another thing. It's like the mix, because you don't want to park it, in one song for a while. Nor do you want to like get on the mic. This is one thing I speak with clients all the time. They're like, "Are you gonna like be talking? Like, how does it go?" I'm like, "No, I don't have enough time to like put on a song and then talk about it. I'm mixing song to song to song to song. If we switch genres, or if it's a big change from a tempo perspective, I may mention it. So it's just not like just like a cold stone hit, that it's like, way upbeat to way slow, but, by having everybody involved in the beginning, you have everybody there. And then as you go through the night, you may want to get more contemporary. Now, that's not saying that you can't throw in some JT, some Bruno Mars and all that stuff early, okay? Because that very much mixes very well with some of the old funk stuff and a lot of the groove thing, and everybody can handle that. That's great. But once you like get on in through the night, you want it to kind of crescendo and get, more and more like in with energy, and just so that you can keep people there. But as the night goes on, usually the older crowd may kind of chill out just a little bit. So then you can get into more your rap, ghetto, fabulous type stuff, and it all like works its way out naturally. Okay, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned, we talked about like there are ebbs and flows of dance floors. Actually, let me back up 1 second. Is when it comes to how I operate also, like while people are going, is that you want to encourage dancing, you know what I mean, and use the music primarily rather than trying to enforce it, because if you
I love that.
enforce
I like
people
that.
out there, they're gonna be turned off. Like, the music's good, but this guy's kind of awkward, you know what I mean? So you don't want that. But every wedding, the dance floor it has like an ebb and flow. People take a break, they get hot, they want to get a drink, they want to just sit down for a second, and that's great. So some things to do that I do to try to keep it consistent is, if it starts to kind of lull a little bit, you want to throw in like maybe one of the interactive dances that we have. So it's like if they chose like, the wobble, Cupid shuffle, the get up, that's great. Also, maybe throw one of those on there because that'll bring some people back out. Now, I don't do a power hour of any kind of line dances or interactive dances or anything like that. I think
Thank
that is
you.
overkill. I use them tactfully. I use
Yeah.
interactive dances tactfully because I only want it to use it to bring people kind of back out, and just kind of mix it up a little bit. But I usually never do two interactive dances back to back. I kind of space them out and use them. And then also you can always throw in a slow dance, and that will also, just okay, just go with the flow on it. All right, hey, we're gonna do a slow one. You haven't done a slow one yet. Brings couples back out. There we go. And then right after that, like don't even let the song end, and then floor it. You know what I mean? You catch them out there, and there they go. And like you're already out there, you might as well stay put. I always say that. And then yeah, so it's like a slow dance, and then sometimes what happens is people get into dance circles with no one dancing. So if that happens, I'm like, we've done about 4 songs now, and you got this circle thing. It's like it's not working. Just close it. Everybody, just come on in, bring it on in.
It's
So,
so true.
but it happens.
It
Yeah.
happens. It just happened actually. I wasn't at a wedding, but I was at a party, and that's exactly what happened. Everyone just forms a circle. And then for like, a minute, people switch off and go in the middle. I'm like, I'm not one of those middle people, but I'm like, why? Why are we forming a circle?
Yeah, it naturally happens, and I always tell them like, look, if you're gonna have a circle, have somebody in it, and then I may nominate somebody to get out there, cut a rug for a second. I mean, look, on your way back in, I mean, you're on your way out, pull somebody else in so that it kind of rotates itself. And then anybody that's in there needs to be encouraged. Like, so I tell the guests all around, like, make sure let's hear it for them. Put your hands together. Let's get an applause. Come on, they need some encouragement. Because when that happens, they make some sort of ridiculous dance move happen, and that's what you want to see.
Right. Yeah, it is funny. It is funny to watch people, and the kids love the circles. I do think it's great for kids because you can put them on display.
Definitely, definitely, yeah.
I guess it also leads into, like I always say, to request or not to take requests, because that also can ruin your jam, right? Like if you're going along and you've got full floor and people come up to you and ask for a certain song, and you're like, I really can't play that right now because it's gonna like ruin the mojo. They don't understand that there's like this whole flow and process. They just know they want to hear one song that maybe no one else wants to hear.
Yep, for sure. Um, when it comes to requests of that nature, requests all in all, as from a pre-wedding standpoint, like I said, I love to get requests from the bride and groom. So I have their list. I have what they have given me as kind of like, just kind of a foundation, right, of things to add in and here and there. And I'm going to mix what I know works with that. So here's how I handle requests is I'm actually very open for them. I mean, I stay open-minded for it, and for a few reasons. One is that somebody that's likely to request something is usually likely to dance to it, and that's actually my rule. It's like if you're gonna request it, you have to dance to it.
Well, that's a good one.
But on a serious note with that, the way I look at it is like this person, giving them the benefit of the doubt, they know the couple better than I do. They can be a college roommate, a high school friend, or something like that. There could be some sort of throwback. But see, here's the caveat. It's got to mix and work well with that request list, that input that I got from the bride and groom. It has to mix well. I have to like look at that and determine whether that's going to mix well with the list. But then here's another thing. What's going on right at that moment? Because if it's a slow one, and we just had a slow one or something like that, or, it's just like ratchet ghetto rap. Like, look, I love it, but it's gotta happen later. It's gotta happen later, So you want to be open for that because again, that's how I look at it, is that these people know the bride and groom, better than I do. And I always try to look at that as like an advantage that I'm going to there's going to be one that was thrown in that they forgot on their list that's going to work well. But on a side note, it's very important that I have to play gatekeeper to your point about someone requesting something that has nothing to do with really anything that's happening at that moment, or it doesn't have anything to do with anybody except them. Like they want to hear this song because it's, I understand, they're out, had a drink, want to hear their song, whatever. But if it doesn't make sense, that's where I have to play gatekeeper. It's my job to make sure that that dance floor is hopping and we're having fun and we're doing what we need to do. But if it doesn't make sense, I just have to respectfully decline. But what I tell them is like, hey, that's a great request, because you don't want to like,
No.
disrespect anyone. Hey, that's great, but I've got a lot to get to. I'm not sure that I'll swing around to it. I'll try, but I can't promise it.
Yeah.
I just leave it at that. And leave it
Yeah.
at that.
Yeah. You're diplomatic and fair because you need to be.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, like, if I request a song and some dude's like, no, I'm like, bro, but that's my jam. Like, what are you doing? Uh, but then again, just being respectful, like that's a big thing too, because obviously that song is important to them. But then again, we have a job to do. And that if we need to make that call that like, this is not the song that's going to, it's going to kill the dance floor or something. You can't play it. You can't satisfy everybody, right?
Yeah, I for a while, when bride and grooms, and I know they're struggling with music, especially with a DJ, not so much with a band, because you don't have as much wiggle room with a band. You pretty much have a set list and that's it, which is another thing people have to understand when they're trying to figure out band versus DJ. Unless you're hiring a true over cover band, you're probably going to be stuck with a certain genre. So obviously that's something that we tell people, but I, for a long time said, if you're struggling with it, on your RSVP card, ask them their song request then they'll feel like they had some input. You can decide at that point whether you want that song in your playlist or not. And then you can share that with your DJ for your playlist, or say that you're going to play it at some point during the weekend because there's so many requests. So it could be an after party, it could be a brunch, it could be a welcome party. We've taken your request into consideration. And then it kind of lets the DJ off the hook too a bit, because you can say, oh yes, I remember seeing that on the list. We've got it on there somewhere, and then it just it becomes a little bit easier. But even collecting those RSVP cards and some of the choices that people came back with, I'm like, whoa,
Yep.
Grandma's probably not going to like that song.
Oh, put it at the end of the night. I deal with that all the time. I'm like, oh, look, we got to play this as late as possible when Grandma's gone home.
Yeah. No, the no cursing rule, right?
To your point with that, and we had a situation. I mean, is months and months back where the language was so bad, even as a like an edited version was just like it was one of those songs, and the parents came over to us, even though that's a request. From the bride and groom, like they came to us, and mentioned it. And so that's another thing, is that how we, what music that we play and how we go about things reflects us, even though we're trying to carry out what the bride wants or whatever not. So we have to watch that, you have to be careful. Mm-hmm.
Not everyone knows that you have had that conversation, right, with the bride and groom.
Exactly.
That they requested that. They just look to you and be like, hey,
what's wrong with this guy
here? Yep. You're the guy behind the music.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Oh, so many moving parts. I love it. Do you have a favorite destination wedding story, or a favorite wedding story? Anything that you might want to share? I mean, there's so many great stories that we all come across. I always just like to share to end on a fab note.
Yeah, well, and I don't have the greatest answer. I still haven't gotten that invite to Santorini or to Cabo. I think one of my favorites was, as far as from a destination perspective, I played, like I said, I used to be a musician before I started this company, and I played guitar, and I got invited by our friends to go down to St. Thomas and in the Virgin Islands, and it was like this rooftop thing. I was like, gosh, this is what I got to get into right here. But it was amazing. But it was like a friends thing, and it was just like, maybe like 50, 60 people. But a fantastic trip. But as far as like a favorite story, I really try to think about that. I do this every weekend, and
Yeah.
I don't have like one that stuck out. I've seen everything from, like a full Marine, bridal party, or full Marine, groomsmen, and then honoring like fallen soldiers that were their buddies in some sort of way. That was just, I just like couldn't even believe it. There's been times where um, that at the ceremony where, and not to be like sad, but like you have like there's an empty row at the front, on the groom side, and then a full row on the bride side, meaning that that he didn't have that much family or anything like that, so, and then to see the her family like totally embrace him, and then you can see them celebrating at the wedding. I'm like, those are the little good things. And so I don't have that one story. I look for these wonderful little things like every weekend, that's
Awesome.
that's how I look at it, because every weekend we have a lot of fun. There's something special, but no particular story. I just feel that as far as what I always like to see is something unique between like what's important to the bride and the groom in some sort of way, whether it is bringing their dog into the wedding, or honoring like a past father or something in some sort of like cool way. Those little things. So I don't have one story. I have a bunch where I'm like, wow, I saw that, and that was really, really cool. But ultimately, that the bride and groom did something that was just like really important to them, that made it a unique part of their wedding, if that makes any sense.
It totally
But
does. I love it.
always think that's a really, really cool thing,
No, it's so great. And I have, it's funny that you mentioned it, because I have a wedding coming up in the Bahamas, and the bride has lost her dad, and she wants to bring him in to her first dance, literally like I think you call it a hologram. I'm still working through this. I actually, when she said it to me, I said, are you sure you can handle this? Because this is, as you know, the father-daughter dance is pretty early on in the evening.
Right.
And that's really powerful and emotional. Like, I mean, the empty seat when you see it walking down the aisle. I always tell people, like, are you ready for that? Because it's going to like open the floodgates.
Yep.
And people really want to honor people, but they forget they're already so emotional on that day. And then you add this big component on top of it. It's like, takes your breath away.
Yeah.
To do this, I'm a little bit worried. Like, I want her to do whatever she wants to do. It's her day. I just want to make sure that she's prepared for what follows that.
Yeah. That's yep. That would be interesting. I've never seen that.
I haven't either. I said, well, I've seen it in Vegas, and I've seen it on the music boards, but I've never done it. But if you're ready for it, let's figure it out, And so it is cool, but it is so special when people want to honor people. And obviously music plays a big part of that.
Yeah. And just doing something that's them, that's unique to them, I think is always good.
Yeah, these skits, which I know you've probably seen, you probably have nightmares and dreams about them, but where they start with one song and switch to another, the choreographed dancing,
the mashups and stuff.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
Did one last night for a friend who's getting married in Mexico. And, we're talking about destination wedding. They actually invited me, but we just couldn't make it happen. We just, with travel, we were unsure with what's going on, like right at the moment. But they wanted me to go, and my wife was not able to. And so we have trouble there, because she wants to go down to Mexico too. But it wasn't the right time. We had traveled over in November and December, and it was like we just need to reset, because we had such a busy year. So January is that reset, and that was the only weekend I had off. And I'm like, oh, let's go. I'm like, no, it's probably just best I just kind of hang out. But but the mashups are fun. They're always,
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I love them. I've seen some really great ones, and I've seen some that they just didn't practice enough. And I was like, oh, okay, we're just going to make fun of it. Everybody on the dance floor.
Right. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Everybody on there. Do what they're doing. Everybody go.
Hide them in the middle. I love it. Oh, thanks so much, Josh. It's so great to talk with you. And if anyone is looking for entertainment in Nashville, if you're watching, please reach out to Josh at High Tone Entertainment. You're going to find all of his contact information to follow. And or if you want to take him to Mexico with you, give him enough notice and he'll pack his bags.
I will. Definitely.
So thanks so much. We obviously here want to make sure that your wedding goes just as planned. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us at Swivel Group Events, the Bridal Retreat, Bel Air Mansion, or Just as Planned. We're happy to help you in any way we can. So thanks so much. Have a great day, Josh.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.